What's up, guys? Welcome to this video where I'm going to tell you the story of the two pugs that took the PTE exam. Now, the pug on the right, his name is Happy. He watched this entire video and he then took the PTE exam and he cleared the exam or passed the exam. And the one on the right, his name is Grumpy. He watched like hours and hours of video on the internet trying to prepare for the PTE exam, and he still didn't manage to get a score in this exam. That's why he has such a sad face. Even though he looks sad, he's still kind of cute because he's a pug. So my goal in this video is to make you like happy and for you to have a happy face. Hopefully, once you're done watching this video and you take the PT exam and you get your results, you're going to be like happy, the pug, and you're going to be having a big smile on your face. All right, so let's get straight into the video. Now, this is the ultimate PTE preparation crash course. This is the video that I wish I had back when I was preparing for the PT exam. I just wanted an overview of what the exam is and what should I be doing in each section. And this is just my kind of gift to you guys to prepare for this exam. I'm going to show you how to nail the PT exam without spending hours in preparation. You do not need to watch 12 or 13 or 24-hour long videos to pass this exam. I'm going to show you everything that I can in this limited time that we have today here. This is the ultimate PTE preparation crash course. Now, about me, who am I and why should you listen to me? I'm going to keep this short because I know you guys are busy. So my name is Steven Fernandez. I got an overall score of 90 in the PTE academic exam. I was brought up in a non-native English-speaking environment, just like you guys. So the reason I took the exam was because I wanted my permanent resident visa while I was moving to Australia, and I needed like a 79 plus score to stand any chance of qualifying. So I put in a lot of preparation and actually got a 90 score in the exam. And after that, I started helping thousands of other people as well, and they've been seeing similar results. I have an ebook called The Ultimate Guide to the PTE Academic, which has over 3,000 copies sold. And I also had a chance to work with people on a one-on-one basis over the last 2 years, and I have a really good understanding of what works and what doesn't when it comes to this exam. And I'll also be sharing some stories of the people who have successfully cleared this exam, just for some added inspiration. So that's me. That's who I am. That's why you should maybe want to listen to me. Who is this video for? So this is if you plan on studying or moving to Australia and you need to take the PTE academic exam. No matter what, you need to pass or you need to get your desired score. Then this exam is for you. If this is for you, if you don't have hours to spend on learning what to do, you have a busy life, you got your family, you got work, you got maybe kids or your friends, and you just don't want to spend hours and hours on this exam. You just want to find the most efficient way of doing it, and I'm going to help you, give you the most efficient way in this video. Whether you're taking this exam for the first time, then this is great. Even if you've taken the exam and have not successfully cleared, then you're going to find some useful tips in this video, no matter which position are you in. Now, why did I make this video? First of all, there's so much information out there, but the question is, who can you really trust? There's an overload of information and videos out there about the PT academic exam. Everyone seems to be an expert now. They're giving out free tips and videos telling you to do this, use this strategy and that strategy, and it can get a bit confusing and overwhelming on knowing who to trust. So I just thought I'd make this one video where I lay out the key essentials of what you need to do to pass this exam. Again, you do not need to see hours and hours of content for the exam. I'm going to give you everything in the short amount of time. Also, like a lot of my friends and family members need to take the PT exam, and they started asking me, "Hey, Steven, like how do I prepare?" And I never really had like one good video where I can tell them, "Hey, watch this video and you can pass this exam," or "This is everything that you need to know to pass this exam." In fact, my brother was recently is taking the PT academic exam right now, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, what do I need to do?" And I needed to like spend time one-on-one with him. But I thought how cool it would be if I could just record a video like this, and the next time someone, a family member or a family friend, or even like one of you guys come and ask me, hey, what do I need to do to pass this exam? I can just show you this video. So that's the real reason. And I have a mission to help 100,000 people pass this exam. So I hope this video helps in fulfilling that. This is my scorecard, overall score of 90. This is like a bad photo. No matter what or how well prepared you are to take a photo during the PT academic, it's always going to turn like 10 times worse than you actually look, okay? So keep that in mind. um, yeah, and these are some photos of Australia. So I took the PT exam to like get my permanent resident in Australia. These are some nice photos of Australia for you guys, just for some added motivation. This is Bronte Beach, where you have a pool and then you have the ocean as well. Like it's an ocean facing pool. This is like a public pool. It's awesome. Some nice playgrounds for you or maybe your kids to play in. Yeah, these are some beautiful coastal views of Australia. These are some friends. Yeah, so it's been a great reward for me by clearing this PT exam, and I just want other people to enjoy the same rewards as well. So hopefully this helped you do that. Okay, these are some test takers who have successfully got their scores after working with me. Vaishnavi, who got a 90 score. Arun, who got an 87 score. I'll go through this really quickly because I really want to get into the content. I'm so excited to get into that. Arun, who cracked the PTE and got his residency as well. Kasun, who got a 90 score. Sapika, who got an 82 score. Then we have Geo, who moved from a 65 to a 81 score after working with me. Chandrakar, who got an 89 score. So there's heaps of different stories. I won't bore you with different results, but this is just to show you that what I'm about to teach you in this coming video or in this video is really going to help you. And this is some of my best content that I'm putting out to you guys for free. So make sure that you're paying attention. That's a Let's get started. Let's get straight into it. I'm gonna ask for your full attention during this video. Keep your phone in the other room. Put it on the airplane mode. Just keep it somewhere where you can't be distracted. Yeah, I just want your full focus and attention. Maybe get a pen and a paper if you want to take down any notes, if that helps you. But I'm really excited to get started. If you're excited to clear the PT academic exam, hit the like button right now because we are going to get started straight away. All right, so here's the training structure. So first, we're going to go over a general overview of the PT academic exam, and then we're going to go straight into the speaking, writing, reading, and listening modules of the exam. Yes, that's what we're going to do. By the way, if any of you need like a short overview in terms of the different questions that are asked in this exam, I have another video, and I'll probably link to that in the description, which gives you a general overview of the different question types and what to expect in terms of what you're going to get in the exam. But in this video, I'm just going to go straight into the tips and the content, and I won't be spending time giving you an overview. So in case you need an overview of what each question is, you can refer to that video. I'll put a link somewhere down in the description. Okay, so what exactly is the PT academic exam? So the PT academic exam is a test of English. The only difference is that it's academic in nature and it's not everyday English that me or you may be using to talk with colleagues or to talk with friends, or even the English that you use at your workplace. So the English that is used in the exam is typically academic in nature. So you get questions ranging from different topics such as science, arts, history, business, economics, medicine. So there's a wide variety of questions or topics that you can get for the exam. And it's really important to note that you need to be prepared, or you need to be exposed to those different kind of topics for you to answer questions in an appropriate manner. So on a normal everyday basis, me and you do not typically come across those topics that I mentioned. So we need to train ourselves so that we are well equipped to deal with those topics once they arise. And these are normally things that you read in articles online or books which have a higher level of English. You do not otherwise come across the vocabulary if you are not getting exposure to that. And I'm going to share some tips on how you can get exposure to the kind of vocabulary or language that is used in the exam later down. So we have 4 sections: the speaking, writing, listening, and reading. Moving on to the automated scoring system. So the PTE is scored by an automated scoring system. So there's no physical persons that sitting there and assessing your voice. It's all done by a computerized system. The speaking and the writing section in particular, it has like automated program that looks at your essay and gives it a score, and there's an automated program that analyzes your recordings and gives you a score. So as long as you know what the system is looking for, then you can have a good score. So you can actually use that to your advantage. A lot of people say that oh, the automated system doesn't work properly. Well, if you just understand how the system works, then maybe you can actually use that to your advantage and increase your score. The reading and listening section is mostly objective in nature. So you have things like multiple choice question or fill in the blanks. So there's no real like automated logic being used. It's just like which is the one that you select is the correct answer. If it's the correct answer, you get a mark. If it's not a correct answer, you do not get a mark. Whereas for things like speaking and writing, the different qualities that they assess your speaking and writing on. So how long does it take to prepare? This is a very frequent question that I get. Steven, how long should I take to prepare for the PTE academic exam? Well, the answer is that it varies. Now, this is an English test, so if you start off by having good English, then that is going to be very foundational to your success. Now, when I say good English, it means that a person who reads and listens to English on a regular basis via, say, listens to English via audiobooks, podcasts, or watches English TV serials, or maybe reads a lot of books. These are people who maybe do not need to put in as much preparation for the exam. Like I said, the preparation time varies by individual, from even a day up to a year. People with very poor quality of English who needs a very high score, it can take up to a year for them to like reach a level of English where they can take the exam and get the score that they need. But typically, if you practice for like a month, that's when you only get to a level where you're comfortable knowing the different questions, and that's a maximum score that you can expect if you've practiced regularly for 1 month. Okay, so 1 month is what generally was what I would recommend. But to know it better, what I always suggest is to take the official mock test from ptepractice.com. So this is the official mock test from Pearson's website that they've developed. Now, the reason that I ask people to take this mock test is because in this mock test, you have the same, let me just adjust my camera real quick. Yeah, in this mock test, you have the same automated scoring system that Pearson used in the actual exam, they use in the mock test as well. So instead of spending like $200 or $300 on the actual exam, you can spend like $35 and get a mock test and take a mock test, and you'll get to know exactly where your scoring is. So say for example, if you take the mock test and you find out that you're getting good marks in the reading, writing, and listening section, and it's only the speaking section that you are falling short on, then you know that, okay, I only need to focus on the speaking section. So you only practice on the speaking section and then you go and take the exam. Versus if you did not take the mock test, you just focus on all areas where maybe you did not have to focus on all areas. So you do not know where you stand until you take the mock test or the actual exam. And that is why I'm recommending taking the mock test first. So if you do well in the mock test, you can directly take the exam without much preparation. Say you need a score of 65 and you take the mock test and you get 70, you know that you're good. You don't need to waste time in preparing for the exam. You can directly go and take the mock test and you will be fine. Yeah, so that's a smart way of going about doing it. The last thing you want to do is spend like hundreds of dollars in taking reattempt after reattempt, because the PTE academic is a very expensive exam. So know where you stand and prepare accordingly. Once you get your mock test scores, you know where you stand, and then you can prepare accordingly. Now there are a lot of other cheaper alternatives available out there, but I recommend going for the official mock test because the systems or the automated systems that they use is unique for Pearson, and you're not going to get a very accurate result on other third party websites that are out there. So even if it means like spending a little extra money, in my opinion, it's like highly recommended. Everyone who comes to me, I first tell them to take the mock test first before going in for any other material, because you know where you stand and you can prepare accordingly. So ptepractice.com, they have a few packages out there. I recommend going for the gold package because that's like most value. You get a bunch of practice questions that you can take. So maybe just spend a day going through those practice questions, and the next day, immediately as soon as possible, take the first mock test, and then you have another mock test that you can take at a later date if you need. Okay, so this is a 1 minute break. We've covered like a lot of content, and hopefully you found what I said useful so far. So this escalator, it symbolizes your PTE journey and our progress. So right now we are just like at the bottom of the escalator. We are on our way up. You can see the light shining over there. That's like this PTE success that we're aiming for. And speaking of elevators, I'm going to quickly share like a story of back when I first moved to Australia. This was around like 2 years back. So what happened was 1.5 year back. So what happened was when I first came to Australia, I was like in the mall doing some grocery shopping, and I was using an escalator out there. Now, so the first time I went on the escalator, I just stood on the escalator and I was like waiting to go up. And as I was going up, there was this man who came behind me. He had a very angry look on his face, and you start mumbling, and like he went around me. And I thought, man, this guy is having a bad day or something. Or I don't know, are people in Australia like very rude? What's happening? Anyway, I didn't like pay much attention to it and just went about my day. Then again, after a few days, again, like I was at the mall doing some grocery shopping, and I was standing on the escalator. This time, a lady comes behind me, and she has the same expression as well. She has a very angry look on her face. She's like in a hurry, and she like goes around me and she climbs up the escalator. And I think to myself, man, like people in Australia are really rude. Oh, maybe it's something that I haven't figured out yet. So the third time, when I wait for the escalator, I pay attention. I'm looking at what's happening. I'm observing. And I see that everyone who's standing on the escalator is standing on the left side, and people who walking up are walking up the right side. So I thought, okay, I'm not a person who usually walks up an escalator. I think like an escalator is meant to like take you up. If I wanted to walk upstairs, I would have taken the stairs. Unless I'm in like a real hurry, then I may walk up an escalator. But usually, I just like to like chill and like walk out and stand on the escalator and let the escalator do its job. So the third time I noticed that this is the case. So like I stand on the left side and I'm relaxing and I'm looking people. Some people like decide to walk past. Everyone's happy. No one gave me like a rude stare, or no one made an angry face on me. And I was like, yeah, now I know how to ride the escalator, and that was a good day. So that's just something that I figured out for the first time. Hopefully, once you get to Australia or wherever you are, like you know that okay, you need to stand on the left side if you're not walking up the stairs, and if you're walking up the stairs, you walk up the right side. That's just something that I didn't have back in my country. Like I'm from Mumbai in India, so like we didn't have too many escalators out there, and when we did have escalators, you just like stood there. You never had any rules as such. So, and that was something that's new and interesting for me. So hopefully you guys, once you're done with this video, you pass the exam and you will become an escalator expert. Okay. So if you want to be an escalator expert, drop a comment and say like escalator expert, and yeah, that way I'll know that you want to clear the exam and move to Australia. All right, so that was just a quick break to refresh you guys. We're going to move forward. First of all, like congratulations for like showing up today and investing your time in your learning. Um, like give yourself like a pat on the back for doing that, for showing up today. So now we're going to get into the meat of the content, and I'm like really excited to share this with you. This is like this is like the essentials that you need to know for each section. So I'm excited. Hope you guys are excited as well. Let's move into the next section, which is the speaking section. Okay, so in the speaking section, you have different questions. So you have the personal introduction, which is non-scored. You have the read aloud. You have repeat sentence, describe image, retell lecture, and answer short question. So these are the different types of question types that you get within the speaking section. And yeah, so overall on the speaking section, you're scored on three parameters. The first is oral fluency, the second is pronunciation, and the third is content. Now, on oral fluency and pronunciation, you're scored on a scale of 0 to 5, and on content, you're scored on a scale of 0 to 5, but for some questions, it's a bit lower. So, my tip for you on this is to keep your focus on the first 2 points, that is oral fluency and pronunciation, and we're going to get into a bit more detail very shortly. Okay, so speaking section, we're going to look at oral fluency, which is like one of the three parameters that you are scored on. Now, Pearson have published like a research study on their website. It's like a long paper which I went through, and you don't have to go through it. But I'll just summarize quickly what that research paper says. So they looked at the three factors that makes speech fluent. Okay, so you have oral fluency, pronunciation, and content. And now within oral fluency, we're looking at the three factors that make oral fluency or that makes speech fluent. So the first factor was to not have any pauses. So normally in English, as you're having conversations, you do not have any pauses mid sentence as you're speaking. So the more the number of pauses that you have as you're speaking, the lower your scores are going to be, or Pearson perceives that to be as a person who has lower oral fluency. The next factor is the number of hesitations and corrections that you have. So the more the number of hesitations and corrections that you have as you are speaking, so if you make sounds such as ah, or if you repeat or correct a particular word, then that is going to go against you as well. The third factor is your rate of speech. In particular, we've seen that, or I've seen that people who have a slower rate of speech, they tend to do poorly in terms of oral fluency and in terms of the overall speaking score. Now, the reason why that is so is because Pearson is comparing like your rate of speech or your voice characteristics with a native English speaker. And a native English speaker, when he's speaking, he does not typically speak so slow. So if you are speaking very slow and a native English speaker is speaking at a conversational rate of speech, then that's going to go against you. Now, many people are under the impression that, okay, I'm going to speak slow and I'm going to be more clear, but you want to avoid that. And maybe I'll give a bit more detail later. But in general, just remember not to have too slow speech when it comes to the exam. Okay, let's look at this sentence. It says, I'm going to get my desired score in the PTE academic exam. Now, if you look at this sentence, when I said the word going to get, I did not pronounce each word separately. I did not say, I'm going to get my desired score. I said, I'm going to get my desired score in the PTE academic exam. So, going to get was pronounced as, had a kind of single sound, or there was a clubbing together of the going to get. Now, this kind of clubbing together or natural clubbing together of sounds is called an assimilation. So you want to ensure that you have these assimilations in your answer as well. And a quick way to ensure that you have this assimilation is to avoid speaking too slowly. Now, if you notice, when I pronounce each word individually, I said, I'm going to get my desired score. Now, when I was saying that, I had a relatively slower rate of speech. And just because I have a slow rate of speech, I'm going to be pronouncing each word in isolation. But if I just simply speed up and if I say, I'm going to get my desired score, then I automatically have that going to get as one word just because I'm restricting myself to speak in a particular time frame. So yeah, you are speaking too slowly, then you're going to have that issue in your speech as well. So don't speak slowly in the exam. This is like very important. Don't speak too slowly. Yeah. Moving on to pronunciation. Now, like I said, oral fluency takes care of one aspect, which is assimilation, that actually is a part of pronunciation, where they look at your clubbing together of sounds. So if you control your rate of speech to a certain extent, you take care of the assimilation part of it. So be clear as you can within the time that you get. So if it's a read aloud, and typically a native English speaker takes 25 seconds to complete that. If you take 35 seconds, that's like bad. So you want to complete it in 25 seconds as well. But you want to be as clear as you can within that time frame. So do not extend the time that it takes for you to complete a read aloud just because you're trying to be clear. Okay. Take care of apostrophe marks. So in this sentence, it's a very sunny day. Make sure to carry water bottles. Now, in this sentence, the word it, many people have seen this mistake where they say it is a very sunny day, but it's with an apostrophe is pronounced as it's. So it's a very sunny day, not it is a very sunny day. Okay. So, and this is a similar problem that people make for the word don't. So instead of don't, people say do not, even though it's the same meaning, but you want to pronounce it the way that you see it. And you also need to take care of the s as well. So make sure to carry water bottles with an s, not bottle without an s. So make sure to pronounce the s. We'll have a quick sip of water. Okay. Now, strong mother tongue influences can impact your score as well. So, if you are a person who's born up in a non-native English speaking country, and if you have a very strong mother tongue influence, then it can go against you. But usually, it's not a problem unless it's like a very heavy accent. Okay. And you also have like intonation and word stress issues, but so this is where you're stressing on incorrect words. But that's really like something that takes time to correct and to identify. But for the most part, we've seen that changing the pronunciation takes time, but you can, if you focus on the other aspects with regards to oral fluency that I mentioned, that's something that I've seen people change in a relatively short amount of time and see good results. So if you can focus on that first, then that's great. Changing pronunciation does take time and a lot of work. Some people, a small number of people, have good pronunciation and still see low scores. um, yeah, so this is like something that I've seen in students, a very small number of students who, even though they have like they have like very good pronunciation, they still score poor in terms of pronunciation in the exam. I think that that's an issue with the system, Pearson system, where they are unable to identify a certain section of the voice of a certain section of people. Mostly, I've seen that in like women students or girls from like India, Bangladesh, Philippines, and that's like a very small number of people as well. Like maybe like two or one or two in like 100, they have issues. And for some reason, Pearson doesn't like pick up the voice clearly. So if you think that this is you, what you can do is you can have a assessment with us. I usually don't recommend people to move to another test unless like you find that okay, that they have good pronunciation and they're still not getting a score. Then I recommend people to go to IELTS. But for the most people, you're not going to have this issue. But this is just to make people aware in case you have a very low pronunciation score, you can do like an assessment with us, and I'll give you honest feedback on whether you need to move to the IELTS, or you can, if there are some tweaks or some tips that I can give you to improve your score to do well in the PTE. Okay. Because the most reason people take the exam is to like get the visa or to uh, go in the university. So if it's not serving your purpose, or if it's becoming too difficult for you, like look for another approach. So now we went over oral fluency, we went over pronunciation. Now we're getting into content. So content, I would, like I said, do not worry about content too much. Just speak on items related to the graph or the lecture that you get. So yeah, if it's a graph about, if it's a picture of a city, like do not talk about mountains, okay? So talk about the city and like what are you seeing in the city, and do not talk about mountains. Um, Make sure that you end your answers with a conclusion. Ending it with a conclusion is a sign that you are able, you have understood the contents of the graph very clearly and can talk about it in a clear manner. So always make sure that for the described image and the detailed lecture, you're ending your answers with some sort of conclusion, and you will do well in terms of content. And do not use generic complete sentence fillers. So I've seen this many times where people send me like voice recordings, and they'll use a complete random statement that has nothing to do with the topic. So they'll say something like, this is a very beautiful image and it is very, it stands out, or something like that. There's a random sentence that has nothing to do with the content. Now it is fine to use like sentence structures and like kind of fillers, but you need to like plug it in with some content from the image or the lecture that you heard. You can't just use an entire sentence without anything to do with the content. The PTE system is able to detect that you haven't spoken anything related to the content, and it can like it's going to penalize you on that. Okay, so do not try to outsmart the system in that way. We are speaking entire sentences with nothing from the content. Okay, so we are moving into the personal introduction, which is the first part of the PTE speaking section. Now, this is a non-scored part of the exam. Now, with this, you need to talk for 30 seconds about yourself. It doesn't count, so do not stress too much. Even like for people who are taking this for university or for your PR or for whatever reason, like I've never heard of any university or any like or any government institution actually like going and listening to your personal introduction. They're more concerned with the marks that you have, and they're not going to bother about this. But nevertheless, it's the first question speaking, so it's good to start off confident and get this done. Here's a personal introduction template that I created. So if you want, you can use this. So you can have your own introduction. Basically, it's like, my name is Steven Fernandez. I am 29 years old and I live in Sydney. I've completed my Bachelor of Science from Wilson College. I am currently working at ptepreparation.com as the founder. In my free time, I like to play soccer or go to the beach. I'm taking this exam as part of the visa requirement to assess my English language. So that is how you would do a personal introduction. Feel free to use this template. Now, if you need this template, there's like a bunch of different resources that I'll be referring to in this tutorial. So the first link in the description of this video will have a PDF where I'll include this template and any other like content that I'm going over that I feel you need to have for free. Just enter your email address and I'll send it straight to your inbox. Just my gift for you for like showing up today. You'll get all this, so do not take notes. Like I'll send this to you, just click the first link. Okay, moving to the read aloud, which is the first scored part of this exam. Now we are like really getting into like the scored part of the exam, so I really need you to pay attention now. Okay, so use time given to practice and go through difficult words. So you get about like 40 seconds before your timer begins. You get like a portion of text which you need to read. So make sure that you take 40 seconds. So this is an example of what it would look like. So you go through this in the 40 seconds that you have, and once your time begins, you start speaking. So you do not use the entire time to speak. You get about 40 seconds to give your answer as well. But if you complete it in 20 seconds, just click next. Like I said, we don't want to be speaking too slow. So if you complete it in 25 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, just speak in a natural conversational tone and click on next. Now, many people ask me this question: is it okay to click on next if I'm done? The answer is yes, you can click on next if you're done in like 15, 20, 25, or 30 seconds. As soon as you're done, click on next and move on to the next question. Another question is way to pause. So in general, you do not have pauses mid-sentence unless there's like a comma or a full stop, or if there's a conjunction such as and or because or something like that, but just use commas and full stop as a guide on way to pause. Now I'm going to do this quick example for you guys just so you see how to do it. It brought to light the most important lesson of language learning. What you study is more important than how you study. Students are subordinate to materials, much like novice cooks are subordinate to recipes. If you select the right material, the wrong textbook, the wrong group of words, it doesn't matter how much or how well you study. It doesn't matter how good your teacher is. Find the highest frequency material beats method. Now, yeah, so if you noticed, there were a few words that I missed because my face is covering the text, but I hope you got a gist of like how to go about speaking it. Use commas and full stop, and that's how you would speak it in the exam. Two. So let's move on to the next question, which is the repeat sentence. Okay, so the repeat sentence, you get a recording of about 5 to 6 seconds, and you need to simply repeat it as it's being said. So, for example, today is a beautiful day in Sydney. Then you hear a beep, and you need to repeat exactly the same thing. Today is a beautiful day in Sydney. Now, in this exam, in this portion, you get like 3 for content. Focus on speaking fluently. Now, the thing is, you get even 2 for content if you speak 2 out of 3 for content if you speak more than 50% of the words correctly. So there are 10 words, and if you speak 6 words in the correct order, you still get 2 out of 3 in content, and you have like 5 and 5 for fluency and pronunciation. So if you do like well in that, you get 10 points for that, and you get like 2 points for content if you repeat 6 out of 10 words correctly. So many people are under the impression that okay, I need to remember all the words or else I'm going to lose my score. It's not the case. Just repeat as many words as you understood or can remember, and you should be fine. So, for example, if I said today is a beautiful day in Sydney, now instead of beautiful sunny day in Sydney, I said today is a good day in Sydney. So instead of like beautiful and sunny, I added another word. I'm still speaking more than 50% of the word correctly, and I'm speaking it fluently without pauses and hesitations, which is what they look for in like oral fluency. So I'm still going to do much better than if I speak the entire sentence, but if I have a lot of pauses in between. So for example, today is a beautiful sunny day in Sydney. That is a bad way to do it because you're having too many pauses and too many hesitations. So I would rather have you speak fluently with 1 or 2 mistakes than to speak everything correct with a lot of hesitations. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're doing this question. Moving on to the describe image. So the main goal for you in the describe image is to speak for 35 seconds without any pauses. Okay, and it's a very easy structure. You just break it down into introduction, main body, and conclusion. So any graph, any image that you get for the describe image, you're going to have introduction, main body, conclusion. This is for anything that you get. Okay, so we're going to quickly go over what to say during the introduction, main body, and conclusion. So in the introduction, you want to use the labels. So look at the graph labels or the x-axis or y-axis and see what is written in the graph. Is there any like terms or like is there any like text that I can simply read off? So that is generally your introduction. Then in the main body, you talk about a high or a low point if it's like a graph, or if there's any overall trend, you talk about that. And in the conclusion, it can be a general conclusion or it can even be a personal opinion, but make sure that you end your answer with a conclusion. Okay, if you stick to this format, you're always going to you're going to reduce the chances of you making too many mistakes. Make sure that you do not speak after 40 seconds. So after like aim for something around the 35-second mark. If you speak after 40 seconds, like maybe a half sentence can be recording and that can go against you. I'm going to share with you a quick template or a structure that you can use in case you're struggling with fluency. Again, this is part of the free PDF. You can click the link in the description to get it, but I'll quickly go over it for you right here. So yeah, in the introduction, you can say something like the given image provides a comprehensive overview of So in this example, it will be the given image provides us with a comprehensive overview of global smartphone sales from the year 2009 to 2013. So that's a basic introduction. You could have also added like operating system or million, but at least make sure you're getting some content from the labels. Then you move on to the main body, and you can use this phrase. Upon closer in examination, we can see that, and then you fill in the blank with the content. So I can say something that upon closer examination, we can see that Android has the largest share of market in recent years, and it dominates the market totally. Um, so that's just one thing that I can see based on the content. Then you pick up any other small, like I talked about the high and the low. So you can see high here is the blue thing, which is Android. The low is the Symbian, which is like not there in the latest years. So I can say we can also see that Symbian has no amount of a very few amount of sales in the recent years, and it has come down from the previous periods. Then you end with the conclusion. So can say in conclusion, this is a very informative graph that tells us about how the operating system has changed over the years from Symbian to Android. So that is how you would do this web image using this structure. So click the link if you want to have this structure. It's simple and can be used for most graphs. A common question I get asked is that can I use this for all the questions? I recommend switching it about. So in my full course, on my ebook, on the courses that I have like more than one structure. I have like 3 structures for each part. So if you're interested, you can get that as well. But this is just something that I wanted to give away for free for you guys. So this is an image of a rock. Like I said, you can use this for any graph, any image that you get. So let's see how to use this structure for this rock. If you want, you can pause. I encourage you to pause and practice this question and see how you do yourself. So pause the video right now and practice speaking about this rock for 35 seconds, okay? If you didn't pause the video, make sure you pause it and you do this practice that I'm asking you to do. Okay, so now hopefully you guys practice this and I wonder how did you do? Did you do good? Did you do bad? Anyways, I'm going to just show you how I would do it using the structure. So the given image provides us with a comprehensive overview of a rock. Upon closer examination, we can see that the rock has different colors such as gray, white, and off-white. The rock is also circular in shape, although it is not a perfect circle. In conclusion, this is a very informative rock that can be used for various purposes, such as throwing it on a window or even to make something flat. So that was the sample answer. Like I said, you can talk about anything about this rock. You can talk about the shape, the size, the color, how heavy it is. You can just come up with different things to say. Yeah, so talking about things randomly for a consecutive amount of time is a skill that you can learn. So if you just practice that a few times, I'm sure you're going to be fine. Yes, was there anything else that we can talk about in this rock? Yeah, again, the key thing in my answer that I gave was that I did not have pauses, I did not have hesitations. It doesn't matter what you say too much. What matters is how fluently that you say it. So just a quick note on content. When Pearson analyzes your answer for content, the way they do it is they have like sample answers for each question that you get in the exam. That's why like sometimes questions are repeated. So for each question they have like a series of like 10 to 15 answers, and they would have a person that has already assessed those answers and has given marks for content. So say a person, the human assessor, has given high marks on content for like 5 people. So the system will look at what are the kind of keywords are these 5 people using throughout the answer. So if a person is saying rock, or the color black, white, the shape, or heaviness, or any other feature, the system looks for all those things in which a person has been rated high on content talks about, and then it compares it to your answer. So in most cases, as long as you're talking something related to the content, you're going to get matched and you score well on content, unless you're talking like completely off topic. So So that's what I say, like, do not focus too much on content. Keep the focus more on the oral fluency and the pronunciation. Moving on to the next question, which is the retail lecture. Now, similar to the describe image, even for the retail lecture, the main goal for you is to speak for 35 seconds without pauses. You need to like take down notes as the lecture is being played. Make sure that you're taking down notes. Taking down notes is useful because you have something to read off. The last thing that you're going to want to do is like recollect everything and be thinking about you want to have good quality notes. You get 35 seconds to 30 to 45 as the lecture is playing. You get time to like take down notes. Make sure to take down high quality notes, so quality over quantity here. What we seen that mostly when people take down notes of like one or two words, uh, when the time comes to read from the notes, they like get stuck and you hesitate and you don't know what to say. So instead, what I recommend people to do is take down longer notes. Even if you have like 3 or 4 short notes that are kind of longer and are maybe like 4 to 5 sentences long, you can still have something to read off and it becomes easier to talk about the lecture that way. So that's like a quick tip that I've seen help people. Now, both are skills that can be learned. So talking continuously or taking out these notes, you can learn these skills for both these questions, the describe image and the retail lecture, relatively easier. The main key is practice. I was like very bad at both these questions, especially the describe image. When I used to get like an image in front of me, I used to be like, oh, what should I say? I used to be very, I used to hesitate, I used to have a lot of pauses, but I just kept practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing. And I did practice like for around 3 or 4 weeks. And towards the end, I started getting better and I got to a point where I can now talk about any image, any object without any hesitation. So one useful way to practice is to look at random images. So, say for example, this mouse that I have, like I would take any object like this and talk about it for 35 seconds. Yeah, so you can practice that as well. Just look at random images around you and start practicing that. Again, the main skill is talking continuously and not having those pauses. Okay, so this is a retail lecture template. In the introduction, you can say the left lecture was a brief discussion on the subject of blank, so fill in some content. Another clearly important point covered in this conversation was blank. Again, you fill in from the content. It can be clearly understood from this talk that blank. So this is like a simple structure that you can use for the retail lecture. Again, this is part of the free PDF that you can get using the link in the description. Yes. So again, in this retail lecture, if you have some good quality notes or maybe 4 or 5 words, you can just say like this lecture was a brief discussion on the subject of the environmental problems we face in society today, or whatever notes you have written off. You can just read off the notes and plug it in with this content, and you will have much better fluency than otherwise. Answer short question. Okay, this is the last question that you get in the speaking section. Now, you can get just a question, something like this, or you can get a question with an image. So, for example, you might have like a traffic light, and they will ask you which color does what does the color red mean? So you would say red means to stop or something like that. So just like a short answer, one word or maybe a few words, that will do. Most of the questions are like general knowledge in nature, and there's like no way that you can like. I don't recommend specifically going out and preparing for the answer short question. An example of a few questions that you get. So whenever a person goes to an interview, he would be in an enthusiastic mood or a sad mood. So the answer is enthusiastic mood. Now, obviously, if if a person will be in an enthusiastic mood, hopefully, but maybe if he's like not passed the PTE exam that day, or if he had a bad day, like his wife fought with him, or someone gave him a rude stare, then maybe he would be in a sad mood. But generally, most people going for an interview would be in an enthusiastic mood. Okay, so that's why I put a star there. So you just go with the general answer and not with like your own opinions of what this person is going through. A similar question is, how many years are there in a decade? So the answer is 10 years. Um, yeah, the answer is 10 years. Some quick tips on the speaking section. Now that you have covered each and every question type and you know what you need to do exactly, just follow that and you'll be good. Practice is the quickest way to improve your oral fluency and pronunciation. So you can measure this. Like I said, no pauses, no hesitations, have a good rate of speech. Um, that is one way that you can do it yourself. With pronunciation, you could have different issues like your native tongue influence, your intonation, your word stress, and these are like hard issues to identify. And um, yeah, it can be hard for you to self-identify where you are going wrong. So you can the best way to improve upon this if you are facing issues with the speaking section is to get a speaking assessment done. So that's something that we started offering as well. So you can send in sample recordings and we will give you an assessment of, okay, these are the specific areas that you're going wrong with and this is what you can do to improve upon them. So if you want that feedback, there will be links in the description somewhere below where you can use that if you want. I also offer very limited amount of like one-on-one coaching on the speaking section, and people have seen like great results after following the advice in those sections. Again, there's only like a very limited amount of people that I can help on a one-on-one basis, but if you're interested, link in the description. Okay, so that was the speaking section. Like I said, I'm going to be sharing with you stories of people who have done well for some motivation. So this is Sovik who got a 90 score in the speaking section after having a session with me. He was moving with his EOI, which is a part of the visa application process. So that was Sovik. This is Bansi, who got a 90 score after 3 attempts. She was struggling with the speaking section. We gave her some feedback, and she was able to get like 90 in the speaking or 90 overall. So congratulations, Bansi. Then we have Josefa, who went from 61 to 85 in the speaking section with just one change. So I remember Josefa was getting, you can see he has good scores in most of the other sections. So he had like 80 scores in every section except the speaking section, and he had taken like 3 or 4 attempts and you're still stuck at that range. We had like one-on-one session. I listened to his recordings. I knew instantly what he was doing wrong, and on the call, you gave him feedback. And we did a few practice questions, and he took the exam next week, and he was able to get the score. So even like small tweaks can make a big impact to your score. So if you need help with the speaking section, feel free to book a one-on-one. Whoa, what's this? This is our friends, Grumpy and Happy. So yeah, Happy is obviously very happy. He's like passed the PT exam, and this is Grumpy, who still looks cute though. I still like him. Still a cute dog. I had a pug for like a week back when I was in India. It was like a friend's dog who I was looking after for a week, and they're like really cute. They literally like follow you everywhere that you go. They're like small little things, and it's like if you ever get a chance to like keep a pug for a week, keep a pug for a week, but maybe not have like dogs for a long time because you need to like take care of them. They're like it's like literally having another baby. You need to feed them, you need to like I like dogs. I don't like taking care of them so much like for an extended period of time. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, hopefully you're gonna be like happy, after you take the exam. This is gonna be your face and not this face. Okay. Um, so let's get started with the writing section right now. Some of you may be thinking like, hey, I came to get knowledge about the PTE and they're telling me stories about pugs. I'm just trying to make it interesting for you guys. This can be like, otherwise this would be like a very boring video. If you want to be like the happy pug, just put a comment and say like happy pug in the description. Like leave a comment and say happy pug. Like you'll have people coming into the video and they'll hear like escalator expert, happy pug. They'll be wondering what the hell is happening. So I think that would be really funny. So leave a comment and say like happy pug, or maybe say like grumpy pug if you want to be the grumpy pug for some reason. Okay, so moving on to the writing section. I hope you're finding this useful, guys. I hope you're finding this useful. Hit the like button if you're finding it useful. Give me some feedback. Let me know how I'm doing. So the writing section is the second part. It's after the speaking section. So I'll give you some quick tips about overall in the writing section, and then I'll go into the individual questions. So you make sure that you only use words that you can spell. So spelling is a key component of the writing section. So if you're not sure of the spelling of a particular word, like just don't use it, use another word instead. Use diverse vocabulary and avoid repeating the same words again. So as you're writing your essay, say for example, it's an essay on the environment. So instead of talking about the environment, you in that essay you need to be referring to the environment multiple times, but instead of using the word environment, you can use things such as nature, you can use things such as the world around us. You can use like, is there anything that you can think of that you would use instead of the word environment? I'll give you like a few seconds to think about it. We have nature, world around us, something else. Okay, so you can use things like surroundings, habitat. Habitat is not so commonly used, but surroundings is a good word. So you can use like different words to talk about the same expression or the same idea. So as far as possible, do that, but only do it if it's inappropriate. If it's appropriate, do not use like inappropriate words. I'll give you an example of this. Now, this is a statement that I get, like I see many times when people submit essays. They say like, I am in consummate accord that government should solve those problems. Now, this word consummate accord, I have never seen this being used in like academic English, at least like recently. No one uses this when they are talking about anything. This is probably some structure that someone has picked up of the internet and just been using it. So in tests like IELTS, this might do well, but in the PTE, they're looking for words that are commonly used together. So instead of like consummate accord, you can say things such as strongly believe. That's more appropriate. So I strongly believe that the government should solve those problems. Okay, so avoid using overly complicated words just for the sake of it. Okay, so do not inject words, complicated words in your answer. The system can detect that you are doing it, and they can detect that okay, these words do not really go together. So those were some general tips on the writing section. Now we're going to go into the essay. So in the essay, read the topic sentence very carefully and include content in your answer. So in the below example, so usually when you get a question in the essay, it's not like a single line answer. It's not like environmental problems, good or bad. Usually they like have 3 or 4 sentences that you get. So for example, acidification of oceans, deforestation, air pollution, freshwater pollution. These are just some of the environmental problems facing the planet. Who do you think should be responsible to solve these problems, environmental problems? Is it the government organizations or is it up to each individual? So in this particular question, again, it's not just environmental problems. They've asked like they talk about different types of problems. They've asked who's responsible to solve it, and they've given a few options. So you want to make sure that you talk about each and every one of these points somewhere throughout your essay. So you talk about deforestation, environmental problems facing the earth, who's responsible. That's all things that you want to cover while you're writing your answer as well. If they were asked to give a specific example, make sure you give that as well. But just read the question carefully and prepare your content based on what they have asked. It's important to have a logical flow of sentences and present your answer in the correct manner. So yeah, having a good structure is very important. If this is something that does not come to you naturally, then you can use a structure that we have developed. and people have seen like great scores using the structure. But it's not magic. It's not that, oh, you just go and use the structure and then you're going to get like a 90 score. It also depends on other factors such as your vocabulary, or how you're filling in the content using the structure, your grammar, and other aspects as well. So if you're like taking care of those basic aspects, then you can expect a good score using the structure. So people have used like, this is the structure, by the way. People who've used this template have scored anyway from like 10 to like 20 points just by using the structure. They've increased in like 10 to 20 points. So try it if you feel the need. So this particular structure is best suited for essays where you have been asked an opinion and you need to choose between two viewpoints. So this can be asked in different ways, such as advantage, disadvantage, pros and cons, boons and curse, positive and negative, good or bad. So the reason this does well is because it moves from one point to another in a very logical manner. For example, in the first paragraph, it says there are several reasons why XYZ. One of them is that this. So you're talking about points like one after the other. It can also be argued that, it can also be taken into account that, for example. So you have all these different key elements that kind of really tie in together very well. It's not just random statements that are put together in an answer. You need to flow from like one idea to the next, like in a very coherent manner, and the structure helps you do that. Even if you like do not want to use the template, the structure word for word, just get an idea of how like sentences are structured so that you can incorporate the same in the exam. Typically, people who use the structure score very high in like written discourse, which is one of the enabling skills. That's because when using the structure, those kind of technical aspects of writing are taken care of. Okay, so yeah, again, this essay is part of the free PDF that I'm giving away. So link in the description if you want that. This is Neeraj, who used our template and left me a comment. I would like to thank you for this video. It helped me get 19 written this course. In fact, I finished my essay in 14 minutes as I memorized your template by heart, and he got a perfect 90 score. By the way, I love it when people leave comments like that. I just feel so happy to know that I could help someone pass this exam. So make sure you leave me a comment in case you pass this exam and you turn out to be like Happy the Pug. Let me know. Hopefully you be like Happy the Pug and not Grumpy the Pug. So yeah, completing the essay in time can help you like check for spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, and other. Gives you time to review your answers. So make sure you complete your essay in time, and a template can help you do that. Moving on to the next. Oh, this is another email from Ashish. So Ashish says, great news has knocked on the door, and finally, after preparing cleverly for the PTE Academic, I managed to claim 20 points for Australian visa. He was struggling with the writing section, but the template helped him to complete the essay in time. His third attempt, he finally got his desired score. Thanks for the wonderful work, and see you in Australia. Congratulations to Ashish. Uh, Hopefully, I see him in Australia. Many people tell me, hey, I'm going to see you in Australia, but I don't know. Once they get to Australia, they never end up seeing me. So if you get to Australia, like let me know. And if I help you, let me know. I'd like to see you guys, man. Okay. Writing essay, how to get better. So like I said, those are some quick tips that you can follow, but it's like similar to the speaking section. You don't know where you're going wrong in the essay section until someone like points out your mistake. So you might think that you're writing like the best author in the world, but there may be different issues to your writing that you are unaware of, and it's only when someone points out that, okay, this is an issue, that you may uh, identify that. Now there are like third party software such as Grammarly, that's Grammly. I might put a link in the description to that. But yeah, so but the thing with those tools are they pick up a small number of your errors, and a lot of the errors are not picked up by those tools that get picked up in the exam. So, and there's a lot of other parameters other than just grammar that are scored on the exam, which Grammarly cannot provide. So, if you're really struggling with this writing section and you need to improve your score, the best way is to do like writing assessments, where someone looks at your essay, gives you a score, tells you what you're doing wrong, and so you know, okay, these are the mistakes that I'm making, and the next time you can like not make those same mistakes again. But unless you get like an opinion or view of someone like telling you, okay, these are the mistakes you're making, it's very hard for you to improve. And make sure you're not getting anyone to like correct you. I said it needs to be someone who knows how the scoring system works and like what the Pearson system is looking for. So if you need help with that, that's something that we provide as well. Link in the description. That's a service that we provide as well. It's a paid service, so if you really need help, we can help you with that. This is the summarized written text where you get a huge passage of text and you need to convert it. You need to summarize it in one sentence. Okay, so this is like a sample answer. Okay, so the summarized written text, you get a short answer of like 10 to 30 words. No, you get like you need to make your answer between 10 to 30 words. If it's more than 35 words, you're going to make grammatical errors. So although Pearson say you get like 7 to 70 words, I think you can write your answer, but even it's still one sentence, and we've seen that shorter answers do better than longer answers. So you do not need to like write for 50 words to cover the content. You can like make sure that your answer is below 30 words and try to fit in as much content as you can within those 30 words. So for content, as long as you capture the main point and maybe one or two supporting points, you should be fine. You do not need to cover like everything, the entire passage into your summary. What is the main point? So the main point is anything that has been repeated multiple times throughout the summary or throughout the passage that you get. So if there's a particular aspect that is like consistent across different paragraphs and different sentences, then you know, okay, that's the main point and I should probably include that, and then maybe add one or two supporting points. Like, you know, you do not need to add everything. Yeah, here's an example of sample answer that you have. So again, as you can see, this is like probably under 30 words. It says the UN has, for the very first time since 2011, declared a state of famine in South Sudan and warned of famine in several other countries, all of which are unstable due to military conflict. Now, as you can see, there are many other things that have been talked about in this image, but I've just put out the key content that has been like the common theme that is there across the answer. Yeah, again, make sure, but this is key, like 10 to 30 words max. Some of the sample answers that Pearson have in like their practice modules are like less, even like 10 words. There's an answer with like 10 or 15 words. So shorter answers do well in the exam. Anything more than 35, there's like more often than not, in like 70 to 80% of the cases, you are going to have grammar mistakes. So just keep it short. Okay, so that is the end of the writing section, and now we're going to move into the reading section of the exam. So I'm going to share with you some secrets of doing well in the reading section, and I'm going to share a quick story with you. Okay, so when I first, maybe let me just increase. Oops, we're not supposed to see that. Okay, let me see if I can increase. Yeah. Okay, so now that I'm here in the middle of the screen, I can be like in your face and tell you the story. Okay, I think that's fine. Okay, so when I first got to Australia by myself, like I didn't know how to cook because my mom used to take care of me and she was an expert and she was very nice and she made like beautiful, tasty food for me every day while I was at home. But like once I moved to Australia, I had to eat. So initially, I just started eating out. Can I get Oh, yes, I can. So initially, I just started going out to eat every day and started uh, eating out, but that didn't work too well because I got bored of eating outside food for too long. Then I started even experimenting with like meal delivery services. So someone like pre-packs meals for the entire week and they deliver to your house. But I got bored of that as well. And soon later I figured out that okay, I probably need to start cooking for myself. So the first time I started cooking, I asked like everyone who I knew, like, hey, how do I make this, how do I make this dish, how to make that dish. And I started cooking. I burnt a lot of dishes. I had a lot of blunders in the kitchen, so to say. But slowly but surely, as I got better, I started learning. I started cooking more often. I started making better and better dishes, and I was able to feed myself and survive. So yeah, probably wondering like, hey Stephen, like why are you telling me about your cooking story? Well, cooking is similar to the reading section, is because many people when they look for tips on the reading section, they're looking for like one or two tips that help them, that I can just tell them and okay, now you're going to like do well in the reading section. It doesn't work that way. Reading is similar to cooking in that you have to like practice and get involved, and when you actually start doing it, you start understanding small nuances. You start understanding, okay, these spices go well together, this food and this food go well together. I need to cook this for X amount of time. So like even if someone tells you do this XYZ, you as only until you like do it a few times that you really understand that this is the way it's supposed to be done. So similar to reading as well, the more you actually read and like immerse yourself in English, the better your vocabulary gets, the more kind of number of words that you're going to have access to. And it's this kind of intuition where when you get questions in the exam, you don't have to think about it too much. You're able to answer them just because you've done it so many times before, if you've read so many times before. So right now, if you ask me to make some of dishes that I made like many times, I can do it like without thinking too much. I just know like, okay, put this, and like it's done. But when I was doing it for the first time, I needed to like pay attention. It was like hard for me, but it got easier. So similar to cooking, reading as well, you need to get into the habit of reading good quality English if you want to improve your vocabulary and your reading comprehension. Okay. So these are some of, let me make myself small again. Oops, oops. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna go back in that corner. Yeah, so these are some of the dishes that I made once I started cooking well and started getting to the habit. Yeah, you can see I have some healthy stuff out here, some cakes as well for special occasions. So I started making all this only after I made a lot of blunders in the kitchen. So similar to that, you need to like start reading a lot, and then you can like quickly give answers in the exam as well. But it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. I'm feeling hungry after looking at all these dishes. By the way, this dish over here, I'm not sure if you can see it. Yeah, this one is not mine. I just like had it at a restaurant and I thought it looked really good. But all these other dishes are made by me. So if you ever want to have good dinner, like make friends with me maybe. If you're lucky, I'll cook you something well. Okay. Yeah, so you actually need to start reading if you want to like do well in the reading section. Yeah, so for example, in the reading section you need to know like what words go well together for fill in the blanks. So in the fill in the blanks, it's not just about a vocabulary. You need to know like what well words go well together, and we'll come to that a bit later. But so the more you read, the more you come across words that are frequently used together, and you know instinctively, okay, this is the correct answer. Similarly to like when I'm cooking, I know like if you caramelize the onions really well when you're making those gravy dishes, they like the curry or the gravy becomes like really tasty. Okay. And if you put like butter, that goes very well with like vegetables when you're stir frying them. So that's some quick cooking tips for you guys. So you're also getting like cooking tips in addition to like PTE tips. So it's like a win-win. Many of you students who are coming to Australia for the first time, you're going to miss like home cooked food so much. Trust me on this one. gonna wish that you could like get your parents or whoever was cooking for you with you. I found that really hard. Anyway, so having coming back to the PTE, having a regular reading habit will allow you to like understand text in a short amount of time, which is what is required in the multiple choice question, and kind of get that intuition that's required in the fill in the blank section. I know like people were looking for some more fancy tips, but this is what works. People with a regular reading habit, most of the people who get 79 plus for the first attempt, they have a regular reading habit with them as well. They either read books or they read articles online, mostly books. Like if you have a regular reading habit, books, we're reading a book for like 10 to 15 minutes a day, you're going to find it very difficult not to do well in the reading section and the exam in general. Um, yeah, that's just a general observation. You can use it or not depending on you. Some sources for reading online is like sciencedaily.com. That's an interesting website where they have academic type vocabulary. Some other tips for you is like enjoy the process of reading. So you like what you read doesn't matter too much unless like you're reading like children's textbooks, and that's not going to help you too much. But as long as you read any book that has like decent English within, you're going to come across those words that are frequently used in kind of higher level vocabulary. So as long as you're not reading like gossip articles or something like that online, anything like intellectual usually has good English. And the more you read, the more frequent you get with those words. The key thing is to like make it a habit. So like for example, I have a Kindle, which is an ebook reader from like Amazon. Maybe I'll put a link to that in the description as well. That I put under my bed or next to my bed every night, and it's just like I have my books on the Kindle. So before going to sleep, depending on how much time I have, like 5 minutes or maybe like half an hour that I read, and I read things that are interesting to me. So, for example, if I'm interested in business, so if I'm interested in history or anything else, I pick books that I'm interested in and I'm more likely to read. Now, if you tell me to read about, say, what's a boring topic? I don't know. If you tell me to read about, I don't find too many topics boring, to be honest. If you tell me to read about like geography, maybe, I don't know, about rocks and like different types of rocks, I would not be interested and I would be like less likely to read that. But if you tell me to read about some tools that I can improve my life or get better, then yeah, that's a book that I would be more likely to read. And so pick books that you are most likely to read and start reading them. Physical books and or whether it's an ebook, they tend to work fine. I usually avoid reading on my phone because it's a very big distraction. You think, okay, I'm going to go and read an ebook, but then you get like Facebook messages, WhatsApp messages, and people calling you and all that. So it's very distracting to read on my phone. That's why I have a separate reader. I keep my phone on airplane mode, like an away, so I'm not distracted. Yeah, so be aware of distractions. How much think about how much time that you spend on your phone. If you just invest like people, I heard statistics that say that people spend like 2 hours on the phone, uh, and you notice this as well. Sometimes you just like on Facebook, you don't know why you got there, and like there's 1 hour video and you're watching like random videos on Facebook for an hour. Just so that's time that you can use to like improve your English and get better at other things as well. So just be aware of that and try to build reading as a regular habit. Oh, look who we have here. This is Happy the Pug. So Happy the Pug also has a regular reading habit. He's with his glasses and he has his book and he's in bed and he's reading before going to sleep. Now you don't necessarily need to read before sleep. You can read like anytime. Yeah, so but Happy the Pug has a regular reading habit. That's why he that's why he was so happy in the beginning of the video. And whenever you see Happy the Pug, that's why he got a good result in the exam because he reads. So if you want to be like Happy the Pug and if you want great results in the PTE, make sure that you get into a regular reading habit. Now, again, this depends on the score that you need. So, if someone needs like a 65 score, they may not need to do this. But if someone is at like a 50 score and needs to get to 79, definitely you need to start reading. Okay. Whew. Getting into the questions, we have the multiple choice question, which is part of the reading section. This is what it looks like. You get a passage of text, then you have answers to choose from. So make sure that you read the question first. So before the timer begins, you get 7 minutes to 7 seconds to kind of skim through the question and the option. So read the question carefully. Make sure you understand what it is. So which of the following is not true? So key part would be like not true. So you got to get a sense of, okay, what should I be looking at when I'm studying this image? Okay. Skim through the answers maybe, so you get 7 seconds. So skim through the answers, and if you can, others, don't worry about it too much. The main thing is to focus on understanding the passage that is presented in front of you. So the better you understand what is there in the passage, the more easier it's going to be for you to answer questions related to the passage. Okay, so do not simply skim through the text. I do not recommend skimming through the text. Make sure you deeply understand. What Pearson test is your ability to deeply understand the portion of text and then answer questions based on that understanding. So your quality or the understanding is more than the speed. So just because you can read it quickly doesn't mean a lot. Reading quickly does help, but it's more important to like understand what is being said. Regarding time, so many people struggle with timing when it comes to the reading section. So always make keep one eye on the timer. There'll be like a timer at the bottom of your screen as you're taking the exam. So make sure that you're not spending too much time, and one way to do that is by just having a pre-thought of uh, pre-thought of timelines that you can spend for each question. So for example, the multiple choice question, I recommend spending 2 minutes for the single answer and 2.5 minutes for the multiple answer. Okay, so if you stick to that, then you're on the right path. Anything more than that, then you know that you're headed in the wrong direction and you might struggle with timing in the exam. One of the main reasons people fail to get their score in the reading section is because they spend too much time in the exam on some questions. So always make sure you're keeping one eye on the timer and you're not spending too much time on one question. The next step is to be aware of trick questions. Sometimes they will include keywords just to confuse you. You need to be aware and mindful of this. So at some places they may offer keywords such as 497 days away from land, and you'll have 497 days a year as well. But the answer depends on the meaning of this and the meaning of this and the meaning of the question. So you need to understand the meaning of it. Just because a particular word of text is part of the text doesn't mean it's the correct answer. You need to really understand the meaning of what is it and what it is doing. Um, do, 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 do. Yeah, sometimes they include keywords just to confuse you, so be aware of that. Then the negative marking strategy or the negative marking. So this the multiple choice, multiple answer. So you have a multiple choice single answer which is 3.1 and multiple answer which is 3.2. So in multiple answers you have to select more than one option. So there will be probably two or three answers that are correct in the multiple answer. So in the multiple answer you have negative marking. So for every incorrect answer you get -1. Okay, so in the multiple answer two or three options will be right. There is negative marking. If aiming for 50%, so these are the strategies that I recommend. If you're aiming for 50%, you can be conservative and select like only one answer. So two answers are correct for sure. So if you select two answers, both are correct, you get 2 points. If you select one correct answer and one incorrect answer, then you get 1 point, and if that second answer is incorrect you get -1 for that, so it will be like a total of 0. So for every answer that you select that is incorrect you get -1. Okay, so if you're being very conservative, you select one answer and you'll get 1 point for that. But if you're aiming for 79 plus, you need to select all the correct answer. You can't simply select one answer and expect a 79 plus. So you need to select minimum of two answers. Ideally, you want to like aim to select all correct answers. Okay, so if you're like 70% sure that this is the correct answer, you go ahead and select it. And yeah, don't worry too much about negative marking if you're aiming for 79 plus. But if you're 50 plus or maybe 65 even, you can select one answer. But it also depends on how well you do on the other questions. Boom. Moving on to the next one, that is reorder paragraph. Let me have a quick sip. So reorder paragraph is the third question within the reading question, or not always the third question. Sometimes you get questions in a different order as well. So you might get the fill in the blanks beginning, then reorder paragraph, then multiple choice. Or sometimes you just get it in the same order. So be prepared for that as well. That you do not necessarily get all the questions in the same order that I'm presenting to you right now. So in the reorder paragraph, yeah, this is how it looks like. You have like 5 sentences that are in random orders, but you need to put it in the correct order. So this is some tips. So you start with the first sentence or the topic sentence, as it is usually the most easiest to identify. So the topic sentence is something that will give you a general idea of what the statement is, and it can like stand by itself. So in general, for the real paragraph, you want to look for the story that people or the passage is trying to convey. So let me give you an example of this. So say for example, you went to the beach and you're spending a day at the beach and you had to tell your friend about it. So think about how would you go about explaining the day that you spend at a beach. First, you might talk about how you got there. Then you might talk about like what you did at the beach. Then you might add like one more element of what you did at the beach, and then you would say maybe how you went home. So, say for example, so that's the order that you generally say it, right? But if you like mix it up, it doesn't make like logical sense. So, say for example, if you started off by how you were going home first, so you tell your friend, hey, so yeah, we got done from the beach and then we caught the bus and we headed back home, and then you talk about the beginning. So yeah, I we woke up early in the morning because we didn't want to spend too much time in the sun, so we headed to the beach. And then you talk about what you did before. We went into the ocean, and but before the ocean we had lunch. So it doesn't make like logical sense, and it's like all over the place. So ideally you would tell it in a logical manner that, hey friend, so yesterday I went to the beach, and so we got up really early in the morning to avoid the sun. We had lunch we got to the beach at around 11. Okay, we got to the beach at around 7 and had breakfast there at a restaurant near the beach. After that, we spent about an hour at the restaurant, and then as it was 8, we decided to go into the ocean for a quick dip. Then after the swim, we swam for an hour, and then we decided to go back home. So we actually caught a taxi and we went home because we were really tired. So that is how you would describe it to a friend, right? You'd go into a logical order and you wouldn't like mix up parts of your story. So the same thing in the order paragraph, they'll have it'll be like similar to a story, but more like academic stories. You just need to put it together in the way that makes sense. But it's more difficult and more complex than the example that I gave you, but the underlying idea is the same. You might be thinking, who the hell goes to the beach at 7 o'clock in the morning? Not me. I like to go to the beach when it's like a cloudy day because I don't like the sun on me all the time. I already have like good skin color and I don't need to get tan anymore. But like here in Australia, you have people like having a tan on the beach right from like 11 a.m. to like 4 p.m. And as they're getting home, that's when you'll find like me like going to the beach for a swim because the sun is not as strong. And yeah, that's the way I like it. So okay, anyways, like we have stories about bugs, you have like cooking stories, stories about the beach, and you have PTE as well, all in one video, all in one video. Hit the like button if you're enjoying this video. Um, And if you can't wait to get into the beaches here in Australia, the beaches here are really good. If anyone is taking the exam for like not moving to Australia, just let me know in the comments. As far as I know, most of the people that I've interacted with are doing it for like Australia related purposes. So if there's anyone that's taking it for another reason, like just drop me a comment so I'm aware. So as you're doing the reorder paragraph, coming back to this, as you're doing the reorder paragraph, ask if any other order could be right. Oftentimes, like you think, okay, this is the correct order, um, and that's right, but you need to like question yourself, okay, is there any other order that could make sense? What if I put this sentence about this sentence? Does that make sense? And I'll go an example because I think this is really a key question. Do a lot of practice questions for this, because once this is something that I struggle with initially as well. Reorder paragraphs is something that I used to be terrible at, but as I did like practice questions, I got like better at it. So do like a lot of practice questions if you're struggling with this. um, yeah, paragraphs that are referring back to text in a previous paragraph will probably contain pronouns referring to someone. So look for pronouns, so things such as he, she, them, it, or something. So look for those kind of pronouns to do well in this section. Okay, and look for words such as the, which, this. So these words, they refer to something that have been talked about before. I'll give you an example so that this is more clear. So this is a reorder paragraph. Now maybe pause it for a minute and see if you are able to solve this question. I challenge you guys, if you can solve this question. um, what am I going to do? I'll do like 10 push-ups. I don't know, you can like drop me an email and say yes, I was able to successfully solve this reorder paragraph. So I challenge you guys to solve this question. It's not a too difficult one, but pause the video right now, take some time to go through the correct through the answers here and see if you can come up with what the correct answers. And when we get back, I'm going to show you what the correct answer is. Okay, so pause the video right now. Okay, we are back again. If you didn't pause the video, I'm going to give you one more chance. Pause the video right now and practice this question and see how you do. Okay, practice makes perfect, so pause the video right now. Okay, we're back again. So hopefully you did this question. If you didn't, then we're going to get straight into the answer. Okay, like make sure that you at least go through it and you understand what is being said. So I'll go through it. Although this ligament tear is a commonly a season-ending injury that requires corrective surgery, current techniques used to repair the ACL ligament generally allow the player to return to play the following season. So they're talking about a ligament tear and that it requires surgery and that it's an ACL tear and that a person can return to sport after some time. Now, again, I'm scanning for what is the correct sentence, but when I look at this sentence, I look at, okay, this ligament tear. So when they say this ligament tear, they're talking about a ligament tear that has already been mentioned previously. So obviously, so in most cases this would not be the first sentence because they're referring to a specific type of ligament tear. So I'm going to look for what type of ligament tear is this. Then they say basketball requires extensive stop and go cutting maneuvers, which can put the ligaments and menisci of the knee at risk. Okay, so this is a very good contender for the topic sentence because it's giving me general information. It's not referring to any particular thing that I talked about before. So they're saying which can put the ligaments and menisci, but they're not talking about a specific ligament. They're talking about ligaments in general. So this could be a topic question, but we're going to read further and see if there's any other option. Then it says an injury to the anterior cruciate ligament. So now we're talking about a specific ligament. The anterior cruciate ligament is a more serious injury and can occur with an abrupt change in direction and landing for this jump. Now we've seen that this anterior cruciate ligament, you have this here is referred here as well to repair the ACL, which I'm assuming is a short form for anterior cruciate ligament. So this is a good contender to come below this sentence, because they're talking about the anterior cruciate ligament and the serious injury, and then they're talking about how to correct it and what the player has to go through to recover. Yeah, so this is probably after this, but we're going to go further. So I'll just take a mental note of that, or maybe I'll, in the screen that you have, you like organize A after C. Then in D, we have injury to the medial collateral ligament is most common following a blow to the outside of the knee. Now, again, over here, this is most likely not the first sentence, because they are referring to a specific type of ligament and to the medial collateral ligament. So, probably not the first sentence, but at least we know, okay, this is like an introduction maybe to the medial collateral ligament injury. It can be often treated with ice, bracing, and a gradual return to activity. Okay, so maybe this, they're talking about the treatment for this. So it is a high likelihood that this is after this. So far we have A as the first sentence for sure. Let's go into answer. So this is the first sentence. No, B is the first sentence. Sorry, this one, basketball requires, because no other sentence was making standing by itself or on its own. In the other sentence, they were talking about specific ligaments, but here they're talking about this ligaments in general, and the sports that can cause injuries. And in the other sentence, they're talking about the details of the injuries. Okay. So B is the first sentence because it's a general statement about ligaments. The second one is injury to the medial collateral ligament is most common. Okay, so this is the second one. And then you have, it can often be treated with ice, bracing, and return to activity. So this, yeah, so the reason, now you could be saying that even the treatment or year could be possible for this, but first of all, this refers to like ACL ligament treatment, and this is specific to MCL. So, or the medial collateral ligament, that's short MCL is a short form for that. So we can see from this that ice could be an appropriate treatment for this injury. Then following that, we have an injury to the anterior cruciate ligament is more serious. So now the reason why this sentence is not the second sentence is because here we're talking about more serious. So when you're saying more serious, typically you talk about something less serious before, and we can see that less serious is here, which is just a blow to the outside of the knee. But here they're talking about the anterior cruciate ligament being a more serious injury. So definitely that is following the less serious one. Okay, and can occur with an abrupt change in direction and landing for the jump. So like I said, this must not be the next sentence, because a more serious injury means that there was a previous injury compared to that. Although this ligament tear is more commonly a season-ending injury that requires corrective surgery. So obviously, now which one is going to be a more serious injury? The one that is more serious, or the one more serious, or the one that's less serious? Obviously, the one that's more serious will require surgery, right? And they said that this one is more serious, so it's more likely that that particular injury, or the anterior cruciate ligament injury, will require surgery. That's why this sentence is after this one, and this one where it's just ice and bracing is after the one that is less serious. So that is how you do like a solved example for the reorder paragraph. Now, as I did do this, I would also ask, okay, is there any other order that can make sense? Can the anterior cruciate ligament come here? But as we discussed, that's a more serious injury. So typically you talk about something that's common and then have something that's more serious, right? So that's why that is not, it's not a logical fit that this sentence would be before this sentence. So that's how you do it. You identify like the topic sentence, then you can usually identify like two sentences that go together. So we knew that, okay, these two sentences go together, and these two sentences go together, then it's just a matter of arranging these two sentences and finding out which ones comes first. So if you can do that, then you can question and ask, okay, did the other order make sense? And once you do that a couple of times, you're reasonably sure that, okay, the order that I've picked is the correct order. Now, make sure that you don't spend too much time on this question. Like 4 minutes is what I recommend for this question. As long as you're not spending more than 4 minutes, you should be fine. But 4 minutes is usually more than enough. Okay, so now we're moving on to. I hope you got that. I hope you understood the reorder paragraph. Like I said, it's a very challenging question. More often than not, if you're like having low scores, it can be due, and you don't know where you're going wrong. It's more likely that you're making mistakes on the reorder paragraph. Okay, now we have the fill in the blanks, which is the drag and drop, and we have the select from list. I'm just going to club them into one because it's more or less similar. So you get like text on screen, and you need to like select these questions from a drop down menu or from boxes below, and you need to drag them into the box. Okay, so that's a similar format. Just the way that you do it is different, but it's more or less the same type of question. So the easiest way I can explain this is to go over different types of questions that you get. Make sure that you're drinking water as well. Like water is very important. So stay hydrated, guys and girls. The first type of question, we'll go over this example. Human security challenged the state-centeredness of traditional concepts of security by suggesting that individual blank, not nations, should be the focus of security approaches. Okay, so that's like the question. So there's a particular, this type of question you need to really understand the meaning of the sentence, because in some sentences or the very easy type of questions in the PTE Academic, you can kind of identify grammatically if any sentence options do not make sense and eliminate them. But in this particular, and those are like the really like the low level questions or the easier type of questions. So in this particular type of in this question, any of these blanks options if inserted makes grammatical sense. So I could say suggesting that individual countries, not nations, individual accounts, not nations, cases, not nations, peoples, not nations, all of those options, they make grammatical sense. So in this particular answer, simply your use of correct grammar will not be handy. So we have to look at what are the other ways that you can do well in this question. So for you to do well in this question, you really need to understand the meaning of the question. So let's look at how like an amateur reader or someone without a regular reading habit would read this, and someone who has a regular reading, how they would interpret this example. This is just again to drill into the importance of having like a regular reading habit. Okay, so an amateur reader would look at this question and say something like, okay, there's some national security happening. There's some cases, it could be cases. Like what the hell is state-centeredness? Something like that. I don't know what is state-centeredness. Could possibly, you, an amateur reader could possibly understand everything in if they spend a lot of time analyzing each and every word. But the thing is, you do not have so much time in the exam to like go over each word very slowly and put together the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so as you're practicing, when you're practicing, you can spend some additional time to do this. But in the actual exam, you do not have enough time to like go through each and every word and make your answer in that way. So make sure that you are not spending too much time on the question, and you have to train yourself to be intuitive and get the answer in a very intuitive manner. So someone who's reading it very professionally or someone who has a regular reading habit will go and find out that, okay, so they have said something that about not nations. So countries, it can't be countries because human security challenged the state-centeredness of traditional concepts of security by suggesting that individual countries, not nations, so countries and nations mean the same thing. So definitely this cannot be the correct answer. then it really comes down to, okay, what makes more sense. So if I say individual accounts, not nations, so what accounts are they referring to? Why would you want to secure accounts? And accounts and nations are kind of two different uh, paradigms altogether, or different concepts altogether. Cases, not nations, could make sense. People, not nations, could make sense. So when you look at state-centeredness, it means that people who are talking about the nation in particular. But if you look at people-centeredness, it's more of people that you're talking about and not the entire country. So you're more focused on a person. So that in that from that perspective, people makes more sense. And also, like, individual people is the kind of word combination that is frequently used in English together. So it's just like more you're more naturally inclined to believe that individual people is the correct answer and not nations. Okay. um, so there you have it. That's how a pro reader would pick up. A person who has a regular reading habit instinctively, intuitively picks up that individual people is the correct answer, whereas someone who doesn't have a regular reading habit may think that, okay, any one of these options may be correct. And you might have noticed this as well if you've taken the exam before, done a few practice questions. Sometimes you're like stuck between two correct answers. You think that, okay, both could be the correct answer, but the one that's the correct answer is the one that is more frequently used in English. And unless you like come across those word combinations before, you're not going to know which is the correct answer. That's why it's important to have a regular reading habit. um, yeah, so individual people, not nations, is the correct answer for this. I'll give you again a very simplistic example of a word of collocations. So if I say it is raining very blank in Australia today, so my options are heavily or hard. So it is raining very heavily or it is raining very hard in Australia. So what would you say is the correct answer? It is raining very heavily or it is raining very hard. So most people, if you have a basic level of English, you would select the word heavily, because raining heavily is something that's frequently used in like everyday English and in conversations with people. Raining hard is not something that you commonly use together. So raining heavily is the correct answer, and you intuitively know that that's the correct answer because you've heard it so many times before, and you've seen people talking, saying like raining heavily as well. So it's a similar concept that's used in the PT academic exam, but the only thing is that most of the word combinations that you get are like slightly academic in nature and slightly higher level than the simple example that I gave. Do Moving on to question number two. The culture of planning in a city's conservation and renovation demands a dash of integrated planning. So you have respect, sustainability, modality, system. So again, in this particular fill in the blank, it's not possible to identify the correct answer just by grammar. Okay. So your again, like, system of integrated planning makes more sense, and it's really difficult to explain why it makes more sense. It's just that you have that intuitive sense that uh, like, why would you have demand a respect of planning? You don't have a respect of planning. Sustainability of planning also does not make too much sense. System of planning, like system and planning, again, are words that are commonly kind of used together when you talk about these concepts, and it makes most logical sense as well. um, Another example, question number three. Beginning in 1934, Stalin began a campaign of political repression, blank as the Great Purge. Okay, so this is a relatively easy question. So let's see if you guys can solve this. I didn't give you time to like solve the previous question, but I'm giving you some time to solve this. Okay, so pause and maybe try to find out what the correct answer is. So it could be, say, in this particular answer we can remove the saying, because it doesn't sound grammatically correct. Exclaimed as well may not be appropriate, but the word called and the word known, both of these answers could be used appropriately in this blank. So if I said called as the Great Purge or known as the Great Purge, technically they both have similar meanings, but a person who is used to reading English will immediately or intuitively know that known as is a more frequently used expression, whereas called as is not frequently used. You normally say called. So if it was called the Great Purge, then if the as wasn't there, then called would be more appropriate. But if it was known as the Great Purge, then like known is more appropriate. So having that ability to distinguish between these two factors is very important, and the only way you do that is by improving your exposure to English. So get into a regular reading habit like Happy the Pug, and you might see similar results in the exam. So other fill in the blanks are pretty much the same. Again, immerse yourself in English. Whoa, what do we have here? This is like a huge diagram that you have on screen. So it's like a pyramid. And so what is this, Steven? So this is like a bonus that I'm adding for you guys. I wasn't going to add it, but okay. Added it for you guys. So now the reading section looks easy. And it's like I said, it's difficult for you to identify where you're going wrong without knowing it. Okay, and I'm going to tell you about like the 4 levels of awareness that people have when it comes to the PT academic. So normally people, when they enter the PT academic for the first time, they are like very confident that okay, I have good English, I can take this exam. And but once they take the exam, they, instead of getting like a 90 score, they end up getting maybe a 50 or 60 score, and then they realize okay, there's something, maybe there might be a gap in my English skills. Okay, so before taking the exam, they might have been confident. That's where you have unconscious incompetence, which is a wrong intuition. So you think that you have good English skills, but once you take the test, now it is you have conscious incompetence. So you know that okay, my assumption of me having English skills was wrong. Okay, and I need to work upon it. Then you kind of start maybe reading English, and you start getting to know like different words and vocabulary. So then you have conscious competence where you know certain words and you know the meaning of words, but you're still not able to understand it or put together meanings very quickly, or you do not still have that intuitive uh, awareness to yourself where you can understand an answer in a short amount of time as well. So you still, you know, at least now you're beginning to understand words and passages and understanding deeper, but you're not able to do it very quickly, which is what we need to do for the PT. But the more you practice and the more you get better at that skill, you're going to reach to like unconscious competence or the right intuition, which is what we are looking for the PTE, where you read a particular word combination so many times, or you read so much amount of English that you are able to answer questions very quickly and in a short amount of time, by using your intuition, and you're able to select the correct answer, fill in the blanks just by looking at it. So that 4 different levels of awareness that you need to be aware of, and this applies to different sections of the exam as well, where earlier you might think that okay, you're doing a great job, but then once you get your scores, you know, okay, there might be certain places that I'm lacking, and then you consciously prepare and improve in these areas. And once you like do this for a sustained amount of time, you get to a place where you it's right in your intuition and you know things very quickly. Okay, so where in this ladder are you? You can find out by taking a mock test, and you'll come to know which where are you. Are you like really? Do you have the right intuition where you're able to select answer correctly and get a right score? Are you here where you think that you have really great English, but when you take the exam, it's giving a different result? So it's good to know where you stand on this level of awareness. And this is something that you can apply to other skills in your life as well. For example, conversation skills. You might think that okay, I'm good at speaking with someone, but suddenly someone gives you feedback saying that oh, this is not the right way to speak, or whatever it is. It applies to different areas in your life where you can get better by practice, and it becomes an intuition. Okay, again, like the way to get better of that is like repetition and constant practice. The more you practice, the quicker you are going to get to that intuition level. Like really, like reading is going to make your whole life better. Many people just think of it from an exam perspective where, okay, I'm going to just read now because I need to pass this exam, but you also need to look at the other benefits of reading as well. Most people do not learn more just because they stopped like the college or education, but the more you read, the better equipped you are to handle different situations. You have books from on different topics, from like how to speak better, how to communicate effectively, how to improve certain skills, how to be more focused, how to be more productive. So they have different skills on different areas in life that you may be struggling with, and you can just quickly improve upon those areas by reading a book, by getting someone who's like have has like studied the topic very deeply. So that's one of the reasons why I read. It just gives me an edge over others in so many different ways. And if I haven't read the books that I've read, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And when I compare myself to a person who doesn't read, it's just that I have a better level of understanding on certain topics as well. So you can have a similar edge as well. So do not just think of it from an exam point of view. Think of it as how can this make my overall life better, and that way you're like more motivated to read. And yeah, you just may have a better life that way, maybe. But what do I know? I'm just a guy who's making YouTube videos. Okay. Was there anything else that I wanted to cover on the topic of reading? No, I think that was about it. This is a break. Now, after the reading section, you're going to have a break in the exam before you start the listening section. Now, once you like reach this point, you're probably like tired. You're like you've spent a lot of time focusing on the speaking, writing, and reading section, and now you have to get into the listening section where you have to listen to a topic for a long amount of time. So again, you want to take 10 minutes just to refresh. So like go have a glass of water, go like freshen up, do anything. Make sure you take like there's like 10 minutes break. It's optional, but I highly recommend taking that break, because once you take that short break and the kind of refresh yourself, you're going to be in a much better position to do well in the listening section. This is a photo of me taking a break at the beach. I wish I was by the beach right now, but this photo will do for now. So you have like beautiful the blue water, like that's like a shade of blue that I've never seen before. Green grass, and just like taking a big break with my feet up. Hopefully you guys get to do this soon as well. Now in the exam, you're not going to be like able to go to the beach and take a break like this, but you can just like go to the toilet, freshen up, and hopefully that's enough for you to like come back and answer the last question, which is last section, which is the listening section. And we're going to get straight into the listening section. Okay, I hope you guys are still focused and are still excited. I'm really excited. Just a few more sections to go, and we're going to be done. You're going to know everything that you need to know to pass this exam. So stay with me and let's get through this. So your listening ability again is a skill that can be learned and improved upon. So most people who I see that do well in the listening section are people who have like a regular listening habit as well. So either they listen to English television, or they listen to podcasts, or they listen to audiobooks. So any of those three things, if you're doing on a regular basis, you're used to listening to a wide variety of accents, and your brain is able to pick up on that regularly as well. The advantage of listening to like these things is that if you do not understand a particular part, you can always like go back to it, rewind, and like listen to it again. Now obviously in the exam you do not get to do that, but when you're listening during practice you can do that. So for me personally, how I improve on my listening skill is to listen to like podcasts and audiobooks. So when I'm like traveling to work or any other place, or doing like going to the groceries, I just plug in my headphones and I listen to a podcast or I listen to an audiobook, and that way I'm improving my listening skills, and I'm getting access to new vocabulary that can help in the reading section. I'm learning how different people are speaking, so I'm improving my pronunciation skills to a certain extent. So listening to English is something that can impact all the sections of the PTE. And I'm also learning about something cool, like a podcast. So it can be anything entertaining, it can be something useful, some useful information that I can actually use. But I'm just like using time that I normally wouldn't be using very productively, to like listen and consume more knowledge. So for example, when I'm like going to buy groceries, It's not that I need to have like a lot of focus, so I just plug in my headphones and I'm learning something new. I'm improving my listening skills. So think about how you can incorporate. Think about your current routine and think about, okay, what parts of the day can I improve my listening skills? Can I listen to some audiobooks or some podcasts as I'm traveling to work? If you don't know what a podcast is, quickly Google it. It's basically like an FM show that you can like listen to on the go. Maybe I'll put some recommendations in the document or in the description below. So think about how you can incorporate a regular reading habit, or how instead of maybe watching TV serials in your native language, you can watch maybe some English TV serials. Oops. Okay. Something happened. Yeah, like I was saying, think about how you can incorporate listening as part of your daily schedule as well. So if your exposure to the English language so far has been only through like reading, then I strongly suggest spending some time listening to English as well. This is Happy the pug. Now he's extremely happy, as you can see from this photo, and he also has a regular reading habit. And what happened to Happy the pug? He got like a very good score in the exam, and you can see that he passed the exam. So if you want to be like Happy the pug, make sure that you develop a regular listening habit as well. Now, again, not everyone needs to do this, the listening and the whole reading part. Not everyone needs to work upon it. But for people who need like a 79 plus score and are like currently like 10 to 15 points below, you definitely do need to like improve your overall English, because that's the base of getting a higher score. For someone who's maybe like 5 to 10 points below the lower 5 points lower than the target score, you might just be able to get your desired score with a little bit of more practice, okay, and the right kind of practice. But if not, you want to be like Happy the pug and start listening to audiobooks and podcasts. Okay, so we're moving into section 4.1, which is the summarized spoken text. Now, in this section, you are also scored on writing rather than listening. So, in addition to the listening section, you also scored on the writing section. Now, I think this is a point that to note, that not like the listening section is not only scored on just listening. There are some other sections that are scored on as well. So, for example, the write from dictation also scores you on writing. The summarized spoken text from listening also assesses you on writing. Similarly, in other sections such as the read aloud, it's not only your speaking score that is uh, determined by the read aloud, it's also your reading score that comes from read aloud as well. So there is that cross scoring parameter that is there as part of the PT. I cover that more in some of my courses, but in general, you just want to know that it's not just all the questions in the listening that contribute to your listening score. Like other sections contribute it to some other question may contribute to it as well. Okay. So again, on this question, summarize spoken text is scored on content, form, grammar, vocabulary, and spelling. So this grammar, vocabulary, and spelling is usually for other questions. Just a few quick tips here. Like make sure you take like quality notes while you're doing this question. So you, unlike the retail lecture, after the recording ends, you don't have to immediately speak. You get around 10 minutes to give your answer. So even after the lecture ends, in summarized spoken text, you can take like 30 seconds to quickly jot down anything that you can still remember about the lecture. Okay, so hopefully you've taken down a lot of notes as the lecture was being played, and now you are using those notes and forming sentences out of them. So this is a quick template that you can use. So this is the given lecture talks in considerable detail about another clearly important point is blank. This leads to the conclusion blank. So you can simply fill in the blanks using the content that you have when you took notes. Now you don't really need a structure for this part of the exam, but unless you have like really weak English, I don't recommend using a structure. But if you do need to do it, then this is one structure that you can use, and I'll include this in the PDF as well. So if you haven't got that yet, click the first link in the description and make use of that. This is a sample answer for the summarized written text. People also ask me, okay, how many sentences should I cover? I think the word count is like 50 to 75 words. So usually like three sentences or sometimes even two sentences is long enough. Four sentences at the maximum should be enough to get you there. The artist says that although he is hardworking and disciplined, he believes that in order to make certain achievements in his art, it is sometimes necessary to stop being hardworking. He says that in the act of dash break or through play, he's able to come up with some of his most important artistic achievements. Now, so that is a sample summary. Obviously, the summary will depend based on the text or the audio, the clip that is being played, and you will be able to adjust your answer accordingly. Moving on to 4.2, which is a multiple choice, more than one answer. So in this question, you get an audio clip that is being played, and then you need to select the correct answer based on that audio clip. Now, as you move down, you can see that you get 7 seconds after before the recording begins. So there'll be the question on screen and the answers, and in 7 seconds the audio begins. So in those 7 seconds, you can like read through the question carefully. So read through this question carefully, and also maybe skim through the answers if you get some time. Do not focus too much time on the answer part. Make sure that you understand the question carefully so that you kind of get a sense of, okay, what should I really be paying attention to during this lecture. The two main skills for you to do well is focus and comprehension. So focus is because you want to focus on what is being said, and the more you focus, the more you'll be able to understand. And comprehension is your ability to understand new information in a short amount of time. So as the audio is being played, there's another thing, another level where you can understand the words and meaning, but your ability to deeply understand, that is where your it shows how well are you going to do in this exam. So don't mess around here. This is like the last part of the exam. It's going to be towards the end. You might be a little bit tired, but distraction is very bad. Make sure that you're extremely focused. I don't suggest like taking notes for this. Like maybe instead just close your eyes and focus to the what is being played. One thing that also helps is imagining the story or what is being played in the lecture as a story. So say for example, you're talking about the World War where Germany is invading France, um, and they're saying that it was a very rainy day. So you picture a rainy day, and they're saying that all the troops were lined up on the battlefield. So you picture soldiers and on the battlefield, and then on a particular date they had a very rapid fire attack. So you picture people rapidly going and attacking the French side. So what happens is if you piece together or something that is in an audio format into a story, you're much more likely to remember what is being said. Now, again, take this, practice this, and see if this is something that works for you. Some people find this useful. Some people find this useful. Some people do not find this useful. So, if this is something that works for you, like practice it and see if it works or no. And your ability to understand obviously comes with practice. So the more exposure to the English language you get, the more like better you're going to get at understanding different accents and really understanding what they're saying. So there's like surface level understanding, and then there's like deep level understanding, which what they test at the PTE exam. So the next question is the fill in the blanks, which is 4.3. Now, again, in this, you simply have an audio clip that is being played, and you have a few blanks, and you need to like type in what is in the blank based on what you have heard. Now, some tips on this question is it's relatively straightforward. You simply type in what you hear. So make sure that you stay with the audio and text on screen. So as the audio is being played, it seems possible. Make sure that you're reading on the same line as well, so that when the blank comes, you're like paying attention. So if you are reading somewhere on the first line and the audio is on the second line, then you're going to miss this blank. So make sure that the audio and where your eyes are on screen is like in sync. When you're typing for the correct answer the first time, like don't bother for spelling, just make sure you get what is being said. And later on, as you finish typing your answer in all the boxes, you can come back and correct for spellings. Okay. And do not spend too much time on this question as well. People have told me that they failed to complete the listening section in time as well. So if you are spending too much time on this question, you might miss out on the right from dictation, which is the last part of the exam. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on the timer in the listening section as well. Something to look out for is blanks with quick succession. So, for example, over here you have a blank and then again you have a blank. So, what might happen is as you're typing the answer from the first part, as you move to the second part, you still not completed the first part, you might miss out on the second blank. So, be careful for instances like that. That's why I recommend not spelling out the correct answer, not paying too much attention to spelling the first time around, just to ensure that you capture what is being said and later on you can correct for spelling. But make sure again that you're not spending too much time. Okay, so let's move on to 4.4, which is highlight the correct summary. So in this, you get an audio that is being played and you just need to select the correct paragraph that best relates to the recording. So again, in this one, I do not suggest taking notes, but instead focusing on listening to what is being said and doing your best to understand the main idea of the recording. This way you have a better chance of picking the right summary. So in the listening section, it's all about your understanding. The better you understand, the better your chances of selecting the correct summary. Do not simply look out for words that are contained in the recording and assume that is the correct answer. Again, the PT is out to get you and they're going to have like trick questions just to ensure that you're on your toes. So they might have certain parts of the recording in your answer, similar to the reading section that we talked about before, but you need to be aware and you need to make sure that that doesn't impact your ability to select the correct answer, okay? Look for options that provide a good summary of the response. So they might include one or two keywords from the audio clip as part of the summary, but it may not be the best possible answer. So that's where you need to select the best possible answer for your recording. Many times the options have similar text within them, making it difficult. So ask yourself what distinguishes one option for the other. Often just one or two words can flip the entire meaning of a sentence. So if you have like a negative word such as not, then that can change the entire meaning of an answer, right? So pay attention to those small aspects as well. It's important for you to stay focused during this part. 4.5, which is multiple choice, choose single answer. So we already went to a multiple choice, multiple answer. Basically the same strategies for that apply to this as well. But in this, you just need to select one answer. Again, in the multiple answer, which we talked about earlier, the same rules for negative marking from the reading part apply to that as well. So if there's any answer that you're not sure of, like don't select it. If you're aiming for 17 and plus, then you may have to like take a little bit of risk and aim to select all the correct answers. But again, for the multiple choice, multiple answer, if you select an answer and if it's incorrect, you get like a -1 for that. Now moving on to listening section, select missing word. So in this particular question, you have an entire recording that's being played and at the end there'll be a beep and you need to select, you need to predict what would have been the correct ending to that passage that has just been played, okay? um, the key aspect in this is that many people think that okay, I need to just pick out the last part of the sentence, but you also need to pay attention to what is being said, because what is being said before determines what is going to be the answer towards the end. Okay, so take for example the below sentence. Now I want you to read this in two ways. One is that you only read the second part, so you just start reading from here. So when you arrive at the park, this is park at the end here, but my face is covering it. So when you arrive at the park, make sure you carry your blank. So you have options such as picnic basket, shoes, passport, and you have something else. I think, what is that? Okay, you have picnic basket, shoes, and passport. So now, if you look at it just by reading this sentence, when you arrive at the park, make sure you carry your, you might choose picnic basket because, yeah, when you go to a park, you go for a picnic and you have a picnic basket that you select, right? But if you read the first sentence, it says we are playing soccer at the park tomorrow. And when you arrive at the park, make sure you carry your shoes. So if you're playing soccer at the park, you probably don't want to carry your picnic basket because you would look like a weird person when everyone else is playing soccer on the field. You're with your picnic basket having some sandwiches. But obviously you're not a weird person. When you go for a soccer match, you carry your shoes with you. So that's where that particular answer would end, with shoes and not picnic basket. So make sure you're listening to what is played beforehand very carefully as well, and then you select the correct answer. How we are going, we're almost there, we're almost towards the end, but it's not quite finished. They still have a couple of more questions to go. So I know you guys are probably tired, but when you're taking the exam, it's at the end of the section, you're really like, oh man, I can't wait to go home. I want to have a cup of tea, I want to have a snack, but nothing doing. You need to like stay focused and like pull through and make sure that you're giving it your most, especially towards these latter questions. Even like one or two mistakes, or even if you make like one mistake in a particular question, just because you weren't focused or you weren't paying attention when you were supposed to, that can make all the difference. So you need to make sure that you're on all the time, all throughout the exam, and you're managing your energy levels well as well. On the related note, make sure that you enter the exam like you have a light snack or something beforehand. Not don't have too heavy of a meal, because then you'll feel sleepy, but make sure that you eat something at least like an hour before. Like you know yourself well and how well you do based on certain times of the day. So whatever you need to do to stay like fresh throughout the entire exam, make sure that you're doing that before the exam. So this is like you right now, you're just almost about to cross the final hurdle, and then you're going to like be at a place where there's like sunshine and trees and blue skies, and right now it's like raining and there's thunder. But if you just carry on and keep going, there's going to be better days ahead. uh, yeah, I want you to imagine that you're climbing Mount Everest and that you're like a few feet from the top of the mountain. But like, is that a time where you say, "Oh man, screw it, I'm gonna like go back," or "This is not worth it"? No, it's like you just need to keep going a few more steps, and like you're at the top of the mountain, and you're done, and then you can be like happy the pug. But if you quit and if you don't pay focus, you might turn into like grumpy the pug, which is definitely who we do not want to be. So yeah, either you be happy the pug or you be grumpy the pug. It's your choice. But paying focus and giving it your all towards the last session is like really important. It's funny in this image. It's like this guy's here. He looks kind of unhappy. It's raining, and in this image, it's supposed to be sunny. But he's going down the mountain, and it looks like he's sliding into the water, and he's going to be wet again. So I'm not sure if this is like the best outcome for him. Maybe like once he gets out of the water and starts going on the grass, he's like life is better for him. Anyways, and this how you're going, but like most people, I didn't know this before I got to Australia. It's like usually I would expect people to ask like how you're doing, but when I first got here, people were like at the shops when I was like purchasing something, they're like, "Hey, how you going?" I'm like, "I'm not going anyway. I just got here." Like, then a couple of times people started asking me, "Hey, how you going?" And then I realized, okay, it's just like a way of greeting people in Australia. It's like, "Hey, how are you?" Something like that. Just say like, "How you're going." It's like, "How are you going?" But they make it short and say like, "How you're going." So some more like life in Australia tips. By the way, I have a separate channel like where I'm planning to like do some more content about life in Australia. So put a link to that in the description as well. So if you want some more, if you like the content that I'm giving you about Australia, you can find like a few videos on that channel as well. There's so many links in the description. It's going to be full of links. Anyways, moving on to the second last part of the listening section, it is the highlight incorrect words. So in this section, you have a block of text just like this, and as the audio clip is being played, a few words will have a different meaning. So right here, it says the arrow of time is phrased. So the actual answer is like phrase, but in the text you will have based. So you need to pay attention to the audio and see, okay, is the same words being said or is it like a different word as well? And this can be tricky as well because your brain is like more likely to identify what is more likely to listen, make sense of what it hears based on what you see. So if you see based here, you'll be more likely expecting the word based, and even if it sounds a bit different, you may not necessarily be able to pick up that. That's where the focus comes into this, uh, comes into play over here as well. So you really need to pay attention and click when the word is incorrect. Okay, and there's negative marking over here as well. So if there is a place word that is correct, and if you do and if you click on it, then you get -1 as well. So do not just randomly click on everything and expect, okay, I'm going to do well. It doesn't work that way. Be super focused. It's important to have your mouse pointed at the beginning of the text before it begins. So like before the audio begins, your mouse should be right here, and as the person is saying, the arrow of time is based on second law of thermodynamics. So your cursor should be moving along with the audio on the text, so that as soon as something is wrong, you click it, and yeah, you click it, and then you move along with the text. If like you miss out on certain things back, like make sure you always come back to where the audio is and where the text is. Okay, otherwise you're going to like struggle. Yeah, it's important not to lag behind, um, as it should be on the same level. Again, similar to the fill in the blanks in the listening section, look out for words that are in quick succession. So, example here, extreme and decreases is like one after the other. So, you need to pay attention and look out for those words as well. Okay, we're almost there. This is the last part, which is the write from this dictation. Now, in this, there is an audio clip that is being played, and you have to you have to type out what you heard exactly, how it was said. So, if someone says, for example, this lecture will be held tomorrow afternoon in the main classroom, that's the prompt that you get. You need to type it out in the box exactly how you hear it. Now, in this, I recommend like the type and repeat method. So what that is as the prompt is played, you type it as it is being played, and you repeat it in your head as well. So, for example, this lecture will be held tomorrow afternoon in the main classroom. I'll write this lecture will be held tomorrow afternoon in the main classroom. This lecture will be held. I'll try to type it out as much as I can, and then I'll repeat it as well. This lecture will be held tomorrow afternoon in the main classroom. This lecture will be held tomorrow afternoon in the main classroom. And then that way it's like still in my memory and I'm not forgetting it. And like when you're writing it for the first time, like do not bother about spellings too much. So if you can type in like short form or like do that. So for example, I type this as this lecture will be held tomorrow. So tomorrow I made as term afternoon in the main classroom. And then obviously later on, once it stops, you have more time to make it into a sentence with correct spellings, because you do get 0 marks for words that are spelled incorrectly. So make sure that you're checking the spellings to maximize your score in this section. And again, this is like the last part of the listening section. So always keep one eye on the timer. Make sure that you have enough time to like solve this carefully. So that's it. It's over, guys. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. I hope you found this video useful. There's a few more things that I'm going to cover, but congratulations on making it and completing it. Hit the like button if you found this useful. Do me a favor, hit the like button and leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought, whether you disliked it, whether you liked it, whether you want to be happy the pug, whether you want to be grumpy pug. Like, let me know. I try to read every comment and I reply to as many as I can. Share this video with a friend. I made this specifically for people who want to clear this exam, people just like you. This is the video that I wish I had back when I was preparing. So if you know a friend or someone who is about to take the exam, like make sure you send this. So this is just one video. We're going to save them uh, through going through all the mess that is out there, and you can just watch this one video and get the correct information. Make sure that you click the first link in the description to get all those templates and the free booklet that I talked about. You will just get a screen where you enter your email, and I'll send that straight to your email. And you'll also be signed up to my newsletter where I send out like periodic tips and updates on the PTE and related topics. Congratulations, like have something to eat. You must be thirsty, you must be hungry after spending all this time watching this video. Do some exercise maybe if you're really feeling energetic. or if you're really, really motivated, go and do some practice questions for the exam right now. Congratulations on completing it. And before we end, like I said, I want to share with you something special. This is Happy the Pug, who after taking the PT academic exam made it to Australia. And you can see here, this is like the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and he's still happy. And this is by the beach in Australia. He's like buried and he's like enjoying. He's having a tan. He probably needs a tan. I don't. So this is the end result of Happy the Pug who took the PT academic exam. So which pug are you going to be? Are you going to be Happy the Pug, or are you going to be Grumpy the Pug? Hopefully this video makes you Happy the Pug, and in case after taking this exam you get the results, you have a smile on your face like Happy the Pug, make sure you come back to this video and leave me a comment. Nothing makes me more happier than knowing that I helped someone like pass this exam. I love hearing from you guys. um, Anyways, guys, that was it for this video. Yes, that's my last slide. There's no more slides after this. Thanks for watching and good luck for your exam, and I'll see you soon, hopefully, guys. Take care and bye. Wait, how do I end this video? Okay.